light, bedroom light on and not that bright.
Yeah. Yeah. Sweet. You look pretty. You look like you're being blasted with light.
Light is on.
That's really cool.
I wish it was off a little bit, to be honest.
I wish I had more light to blast me with.
Much better. Oh, so much better. Here we go.
I love that for you.
Thank you.
I taking deep breaths in and out every day of my life for the last
camera.
I think it is the camera.
Yeah, I think it wants to highlight you and your face exclusively, but
What the fuck? Should I use my computer camera?
Yeah, I guess so.
Okay, BRB.
I'm sorry. Yeah. I appreciate it's because you look gorgeous right there.
yeah, just use go super close up. Yes.
That's where we want you the whole episode.
Just right there. Okay.
Hey.
What's going on?
I am just breathing. How are you?
Good.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. You guys, has Bear recovered from the squirrel incident?
Yes.
That's good.
She has now fallen asleep and is having her first of her multiple naps of the day.
Sweet baby.
I'm getting my nails done this weekend. When are you doing your nails?
Monday or Tuesday of next week. Maybe Tuesday.
Yeah.
And then I'm doing a spray tan. I haven't decided if I'm just going to do the mitt or if I'm going to let someone come airbrush me on Monday.
Yeah.
Yeah. We have a running list. We started this morning. It said things to do before the wedding. So
that's perfect.
Yeah, we're trying to get organized. It's really fun. Your contour looks really good, Kay. Yeah. You're welcome.
You're
We're
killing
just
it.
doing the best we can. And I'm echoing again.
Cry.
It's okay. But I am echoing.
Again?
Are you?
Yeah. Can y'all not hear it? I can't hear it anymore. Okay, cool. I think we're good.
Okay, Grace said this is okay, like for your clips.
I think so. I mean, we're going to test it out. We'll have to make adjustments, but we're far enough away where if we flash to our faces, it shouldn't be so aggressive.
Okay.
Megan, I would recommend sitting back just a little. I know it feels weird to be that far away, but when we're going to try and cut the videos where it'll pan to the person's face who's talking. And if we're that close to it, it just makes your face so big on the screen that you will hate it.
That controls me.
Yeah.
And then does it to me.
We had 1 or 2 big fights about it.
Okay. So let's first get a cute shot thumbnail wise.
Okay.
So smiling or whatever y'all want to do. Okay. What should I do? Yeah.
Ready? 3, 2, 1.
Cute. Can y'all hear that?
Got it. Yes.
I'm going to be sleeping. Okay, I'll turn my shit off. It's the football group chat, guys.
These group chats when it comes to being a mom is crazy.
We should do a skit on that. Okay.
Cute.
Instagram
start a group chat about the dumbest thing.
Yeah. Honestly.
I have an A&M cup. Yeah. Embarrassing.
It is. You are not an Aggie.
Cody is an Aggie.
Yeah, but you're not.
You hear that?
I can still hear it. Yeah.
I am so how do you turn those off, y'all?
You can turn it on do not disturb.
But it's on your computer, right?
Oh yeah. What kind of computer do you have? In the top right hand corner, click the those 2 little bars that are stacked on top of each other and just click focus. And do not disturb. And then no no notifications will happen.
I'm ready.
Game changer. Game changer. Okay. I'm going to do the little teaser really quickly because I already have it written out, and then I will jump into the episode. Let's have fun, ladies.
And I'm so excited.
It's fucking fun. Okay. What if I told you there was a simple and ultimately free way to reduce your stress, boost mental clarity, improve focus and attention, enhance creativity, improve your cardiovascular health, enhance sleep quality, and support your brain? Would you be interested? Now, what if I told you that all you had to do was remain silent for an extended period of time? Still interested? Hello, and welcome back to Besties Unscripted. I'm
And I'm
Grace.
Kaylee.
And we are so excited to introduce a special guest on the podcast. This is her second appearance on the
third.
Besties
Bursting.
Do I get a check?
Third appearance. So
Yeah.
we're introducing Megan Brand to the podcast. Megan is my
Nepotism.
Megan is my sister. And you came on and we talked about nature and how it's cool to care about Mother Nature, which is still one of our most top listened to episodes. So if you haven't had a chance to go listen to it, definitely check that out. And what was the other episode you came for?
We talked about plastic recycling.
That's right.
I learned
we talked about plastic
so much on that episode.
Yeah.
Same.
That was fun.
Megan really is the queen of all things, like, I don't know, giving a shit about the world. Would you say that?
Yeah, you know.
I give that
the
shit.
world.
That is the shit I give.
Yeah.
And clearly it's well received because our audience loves it and we give a shit. And so we're happy to have you back. But today we're taking a completely different spin because you guys, I had a conversation with Megan towards the end of 2024, and she was telling me about a silent retreat that she was planning for her husband's birthday. And I immediately told Kaylee because we love to gossip like that. And Kaylee, what was your initial thought?
I could never be silent for more than 3 hours.
3 is pretty
I feel like I
good.
can be silent 3 hours.
Yeah.
It's like a movie time.
You could probably do a whole day, I bet you. Like a work day. Like an 8 to 5.
Yeah, I don't know.
So before we jump into all the logistics, and we're basically asked Megan to come on here and give us her experience because we were so fascinated by it. How many hours did you end up being silent for?
We were there for 4 days and we were silent for 3 of them.
Wow.
In total. And yeah, that's no joke.
That's a lot of hours, you guys. I can't do basic math right now, but it's a lot.
I'm not going to try the math yet.
So I want to hear your perspective on the why. But before, Kaylee and I did a little digging and we wanted to understand just from like a brief history, like why silence, right? And what does it actually do for us? Like who would choose this and why? But after a little bit of digging, we know that silent retreats are really based history-wise based on a lot of religious experience between Buddhism, Hinduism, Christianity, silent forms of prayer. Now, in the modern day and age, silence is a really great tool that people use for mindfulness, for remaining present. And like I mentioned in the intro, there are so many benefits, but a little benefit for the body is reducing stress and lowering cortisols because cortisol.
I actually was into that pronunciation. Cortisol.
Yeah, I like it too. I say it too often. Because silence activates the parasympathetic nervous system. It reduces stress hormones and promotes relaxation. It'll enhance your brain function because literally they have studies that show that silence can boost neurogenesis, which is the creation of new brain cells, and improve your memory. And then it just regulates your emotions. And honestly, I could use all the help with that I can fucking get.
I know. Me too.
So with all of that being said, Megan, why did you and your husband decide to go on a silent retreat?
Well, let me just start off by saying I would not have chosen this if it was me just individually. Wes, my husband, was turning 40, and I was planning a rager. I was planning like an everyone meet here, go to the bar, throw down. And at some point I decided to ask him, like, is this what you want? Do you want a big party for your 40th? That's a big deal.
I'm so impressed that you took a beat and you even asked him.
I did. Yeah.
Good job.
You live and you learn,
Yeah.
And he was like, "No, I want the exact opposite of what you're describing. I want a silent retreat." And so, as anyone does, I started doing a lot of research, and most of the retreats I was seeing, one, were quite expensive,
Yeah.
and two, were traditionally like 10 days of silence. And I just felt like on a first time that was a lot to undertake. So we decided to do something that was really self-guided. We got a cabin in the woods, we brought our dog, and then decided to develop ground rules for us, for those 4 days that were based on things that we had read.
As someone
Oh.
that hates authority, how did you guys get together to decide what these ground rules would be?
So I did a lot of research on what a typical itinerary would look like, um, and different rules for different practices. For instance, some silent retreats say you can't journal. And they wanted you to be solely focused on mindfulness and intentionality and focus and thought. And for us, I wanted us to be able to kind of go in our separate corners and write about our meditations so that we had something to remind ourselves what our thoughts are, what were we thinking in that moment. Um, and then when we got there, we sat down, we are like, okay, let's give ourselves 30 minutes. We walked through the ground rules, we wrote them down, we shook hands, and then the clock started.
Okay, so this is interesting. So you kind of made your own silent retreat. So I was picturing
Yeah.
a different, maybe strangers, y'all all are intense, the whole thing. I actually
Yeah.
had a good friend do a silent retreat in Costa Rica, and that was her
Mm.
experience of no reading, no journaling. I was like, girl, she's like, yeah, I didn't know that until like 2 days before we were supposed to leave that we cannot journal or read. I'm
Yeah.
like, oh my goodness. So
Yeah.
that is so, I love that you were able to kind of make your own ground rules because I love the meditation and journaling part of it. So, okay, let's go through kind of day one. We shook hands. We are on the ball game. We are going. What was your first move? Was it kind of just sitting with yourself, or did you go straight into meditation and journaling?
Yeah, that's a great. So we decided to create a really loose itinerary because we weren't talking. We wanted to get an idea so we wouldn't have to be like, "Hey, are you doing this?" And just to avoid communication. We're or yeah, avoid communication
I
literally.
love that.
Um, it was
That speaks to
Haley's
me.
changed her mind. She's like,
so hard. So it'd be like, okay, we're gonna meditate between 9 and 10 a.m. every day. We're gonna eat. So like we had loose plans of what each day was going to look like. So right after we shook hands, we meditated. And I can tell you, based on my journal from that time, I struggled. It was it was really hard to meditate and then not have group think about what you were experiencing. Because when you would come out of a meditation, your natural instinct is be like, so this is what I was thinking. Like, this is what I was, but there was no outlet. And yeah, exactly.
well, because it's basically taking away the how you process. I think especially as women, we process by talking through things where I know men process a little bit more independently. So it kind of goes against the grain of like what's natural, not only I think for women, but also for your personality.
Yeah, it totally is counter to your instinct to just start talking out loud. And so, but it provided a spaciousness that was really interesting because you weren't creating space for talking through something. You were doing that in your head over and over and over, which is difficult. You're like ruminating on some pretty difficult thoughts, um, which is kind of the point. You're like working through things on your own, hopefully in a beautiful place like we were, and challenging yourself to come through the other side.
Did you have a moment of, okay, now I have to sit with these thoughts after my meditation of talking to yourself maybe so much to where you did find that solution and it felt good? Or how was the thought process like if you came to a solution on something you were thinking about?
Yeah. Yeah. For me, I was thinking a lot about repetition and repetition in life because we were doing the same things over and over and over. And I was having a hard time with the repetitive nature of meditate, eat, go on a walk. Um,
Wait,
when
pause. This is amazing, you guys. So Megan was having a hard time because Megan lives by the sexy, not sexy scale.
It's true.
Megan, can you please share with our besties what it means to live by the sexy, not sexy rule?
Yeah, my body has a physical response when I have to do something that is what I deem not sexy. So before I do something, I have to decide, is that sexy? And then I want to do it. And if it's not sexy, I'm probably not going to do it.
Can you give us some examples of what is like a not sexy activity?
Oh, um when you worked really hard and cleaned your apartment and your dog with muddy paws comes in and you have to clean the floors for a second time. That is not sexy. You have to do it. You have resistance to it. But
I love that. I have implemented that to my life, and I actually say that to everyone that talks to me. I'm like, I won't be doing that. That doesn't feel sexy to me. So it was really interesting that when you were sharing that you're putting yourself in a position of so much repetition. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but that was something I just think it's worth noting that this goes against Megan's like entire philosophy of
Well, it
life.
also
yeah,
hit to me that as human beings, we are waking up, we're getting ready, we're going to work, we're eating breakfast, we're having lunch, we're talking to the same people in the same day, going to the same place every single fucking day. And that thought in that moment being silent was probably, I mean, that sounds like a big load, actually. Like, that is what clicked to me. I was like, damn, yeah, that is a big kind of thought to have when you have to be silent and not be like, you know what's bullshit? Society.
totally. Totally. Yes. And like being comfortable, it's allowing you space. Like the repetition is allowing you space to be mindful about parts of your life and parts of yourself. Um that you may struggle with or you may want to empower. I would write in my journal like what is something that I'm confident in myself to start my meditations in a really positive space, because I don't know, I struggle with meditation a lot because my brain is mean to me and long periods of silence can be difficult. So um I would be like, okay, this one's just a body scan. I was really gentle with myself. Um, and maybe if I did it again, I would push myself a little bit farther. Um, but because you're not only meditating, you're leaving your meditation and continuing the silence. I just wanted to kind of cradle my inner being through the course of the 4 days.
I'd like to know if you could label each day with like a mood for the day. How did that evolve? How did that evolve?
Yeah, I mean, the first day I think there was kind of a excited energy because it felt new. We were trying this. The all of our meditations were being really productive. What my husband was like in absolute I say this sharing my experience. My husband was in heaven. He was ruminating, he was meditating. Um his journals were so long. I
I was like, I think when you hit it, it makes a
Oh,
static
I
sound.
turned it off. I thought I was muting myself. It was
Yeah, no, it's okay.
Lane came in. What do you need, Lane?
That's fine.
Yeah. Okay, I will. Can you get out and the square things? Okay. Love you. I'll let you know when I'm done. Can you tell Dad to buy me goldfish and the Paw Patrol things and the square things? Yeah, the square things.
Of course. Of course, I'll get you this. I
Okay,
love you,
sorry about
baby.
that.
Do you think, Kaylee, your kids would be able to do like, not obviously not 3 days, that's a lot of time, but like
Anytime silent? No,
as a just like
no.
silent
That would be
days?
amazing,
Oh
but no.
yeah.
Okay, wait, for editing purposes, it'll be easier
We
if we
will,
go
we will.
back. So for
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we
Okay, the days, the days. The
well,
first
wait,
day was
you were at, let me
yes,
help you. You were saying my husband
in heaven.
was
oh, my my husband was like living his best life. His journals were so long. He was ruminating, especially as a milestone because he's turning 40. He was thinking like, what do I want this next decade of
Mm.
life to be like? Um,
Did you know
and
that 40 is the new 20?
oh, absolutely.
Did he know
And
that?
no,
You
not
should.
he's a total birthday downer. He wants to think through all of the hard things, which is why he didn't want to party.
Yeah.
I'm a birthday upper. I want people around me. I want chaos. I want energy. So maybe that's why I struggled a lot through the course of the 4 days. But yeah, the second day, the first day it was really exciting. The second day was dark. I like lack a better word for that. It was hard.
Do you think
Can
that's
you
And then
explain the walk?
ugh. Do you think that's just from the silence and being in your head a lot and it's a new thing, so you maybe weren't controlling thoughts as well as you prepared to because maybe it was more intense than you were thinking?
totally.
Oh.
Yes. And because our phones were locked in our car, like there there was no outlet. You were your outlet. So you had to be so intentional to be like, okay, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm going to go walk outside and think about the river. We were on a river. Think about the things that bring me joy. Um but I think, okay, let me go through the days first. And then the last day was absolute chaos because it's like when you have all of that energy and you just need to let it out. It was time. I was accidentally saying stuff out loud all of the time. I'd like leave my meditation and just forget and blurt out something that out loud.
Did Wes look at
Um,
you like,
be like, yes, be like, shh, shh. And and everything started being so funny because it felt like you couldn't make sound. So everything was church giggles. Absolutely everything. I would walk around the cabin, I wrote down so many things that I thought were funny that are not funny upon reading them again. But I just would double over trying
Would
to contain my laughter.
Would you like to give us an example?
Um, sure. Yeah. We went on a hike, and when we were leaving our area, there was a man who was on a bike, and he he had a really cool mullet, and he had this giant smile on his face, and he was going like this. And I'll say, uh, I swear this is the funniest thing I've ever seen in my life. I immediately bursted with laughter. I can't stop. If I need to be silent, I can't stop laughing.
That's
I wonder
amazing.
what the
Also,
science behind that is. 'Cause it's almost like you're feeling delirious.
I was feeling delirious.
well, and what I think is super interesting, side note, I think we've decided that mullets are back in, and I actually
Kate
really
has one.
appreciate
Did I
them
tell
on
you
almost.
that my son,
No. Was that a
he
choice
wanted one and I
or
said, okay.
it's cute. I think they're in. I really am enjoying them. But I was thinking about through that, it's like one, I think you're delirious because like we've said, you just I don't I maybe it's a conversation around how much we need connection.
Mm,
Mm,
yeah.
But then also like how much we need connection and how isolating it is when all of your distractions are taken away from you.
mhm.
Because that was what was hitting me when you were going through the days where I'm like, wow, I think I would be just so much more hyper aware of how often I'm lunging for my phone to get on Pinterest when I'm having a bad thought, or like you said, being mean to myself, or I'm picking up the phone to call one of you two when I am experiencing an unpleasant emotion because you guys help me regulate my emotions. So I truly don't know if I would be able to do that by myself. Like, it's scary to
I
think about.
agree.
It is a total lesson in self-reliance. That's a perfect way of putting it, Grace. I think it's worth doing because it allowed me to try and train my body to talk myself out of dark thoughts, to like control my emotions and find peace within myself
Wow.
by myself.
Do you feel like there was a good connection built between you and Wes, like going through the silence together for your relationship? Were you able to like cuddle? Were there, you know, how did it look for your
Yeah. I
relationship?
mean,
Were you having sex in silence?
It's like you can't talk.
I'm not answering that question on the podcast.
My mom listens to this. Hey, Dee.
I'll get it, don't worry.
The last day, like I said, the last day was like total chaos energy. It was also New Year's Eve, so we had brought a bottle of champagne, and it was a silent popping. So there was one night of alcohol. We didn't do alcohol the rest of the time. It was very healthy, but New Year's Eve felt like an appropriate time to pop a bottle of champagne. So I wrote down in my journal here, "Will you be my boyfriend? Check yes or no." And that was a fun one.
And that was a fun
Um,
night.
that was a fun night.
Got
He asked,
wild.
he asked me to get him some socks. That was a fun one.
And he's just writing it to
Um,
you?
yeah, it just got
Day
so,
3.
I was just so desperate, I guess, to talk that I would like scribble something down. And sometimes he was like, "Megan, this is the point." And other times it just felt childish, which is fun, you
Mhm.
know? Like I feel like that kind of connection, because we weren't just chatting. We weren't talking about like what we needed to do. Like there was no logistics planning. It was just kind of silly, which is
I
fun,
think that's a
you know?
good I feel like with your girlfriend, no, not happening. But I feel like with your significant other, when you have so many responsibilities, so much stress in life together as a unit, and then being able to go somewhere and strictly you cannot talk about whatever the day, how the day is going to go, what's for dinner, all the things, and bringing out that like childish and playful side of each other. I love that. That's a really good kind of call out. But yeah, if I was going with y'all, I'd be like, we're not going to be doing this. We
We
need to talk
quit. We
about our
give up.
I'm
feelings.
done. No,
I
thank
think
you.
like maybe that is the reason why so many people enjoy camping, because you are connected to nature, and there's also an element of quiet because you don't have all of the sensory overload things happening around you that you would in your everyday life. But like when I go camping, I bring a bottle of tequila and a boombox. Like, we're
Grace brings a
jamming. So
boombox from the 1990s.
you're welcome.
Boombox.
I plug it into the car, little outlet. We
Not a
jam.
speaker, it's a boombox.
Hillary Duff Come Clean CD is playing in the background. Great. So, Megan, I want to know, as you're exiting the days, did your body feel the effects that we described at the beginning of this podcast?
Yeah, if you had asked me while the retreat was happening if I would feel good at the end of it, I would have said no.
Mm.
I would have said like I didn't need to do this. But honestly, I felt my brain just felt so open. I stress it absolutely relieved my stress. It felt like I could enter the new year and actually think through the things I wanted to be productive. And rather than being exhausted by those items, I was okay getting to tackle them. Because I don't know about y'all. At the end of the last year, I was pooped. I was
Mhm.
done. And it's rare that a vacation, like when you leave a vacation, you're kind of ready to go back to something. But I felt
I
refreshed.
love that.
I felt ready to kind of take on the new year.
It's
And it
interesting.
lasted for like 10 days.
That's
She
good.
did a lot.
I
That was
know. Yeah.
Yeah, that was one of my follow-up questions. But I also find it interesting because I know this is not Megan's jam, but listening to like business podcasts or resources, they talk a lot about doing these think weeks where you don't bring your phone, you can bring a bunch of books to read, very similar to your silent retreat, and you spend that time just trying to disconnect so your brain can
Mhm.
expand and like be strategic about what you have upcoming. So it's almost like you did a little mini, think week
Yeah.
that was good for the soul, the spirit, and the brain. Do you feel like your husband, do you feel like he took away the similar things from the experience that you did? Or did you feel like after we were finally able to trade notes, you're like, oh, this was like, we experienced this very differently?
We did experience it very differently, but he, I think, could do another one tomorrow
Mm.
and do a much longer one. Probably, he would probably seek out something more disciplined. Um, and he ruminated a lot about like what the last 4 decades of his life was like and the choices that he made and the different paths he took and almost like mourned and celebrated the different paths that were either lost or taken. Um, and I,
He's
my,
so deep. I got
I,
shit faced on gin martinis on my birthday and went home and
No,
slept.
I think that's
you,
incredible. I was thinking, y'all kind of went into it in a different, obviously a different, like he's turning 40. That's huge. So I wonder
Mm.
too if it matters. It does matter the time of your life that you're kind of going in this silent retreat, because if you're going through like a major rough patch and you're having to be silent, that will be such a different experience for someone who has just experienced some great things. Maybe it's like, they met the love of their life, they got married, all the things. There's so much good too. That is such a good call out. Like, yeah, it's my 40th birthday. I'm going to start thinking about my life and kind of how I got here. I love a deep bitch. Cody's like, you make everything deep. I'm like, yeah, I do that.
yeah, well, Kaylee, that's a great point. Like, if you went on a silent retreat tomorrow, what's your state of mind? Like, what are you going
Yeah.
into?
Did you ask yourself some questions or did you set the intention of what you wanted to learn, like coming into it or going out of it?
We did that individually. Like,
Yeah, what was yours?
I wanted to come out of it with a better sense of self so I could remember and carry that with me for 2025, basically.
What
Um,
is what is that? What was the answer?
well, there were a lot of answers. It was a self-confidence that I wanted. I I wanted to be confident in all of the decisions that I make and know that they're not betraying myself. Let me find an example because I know you're seeking.
I mean, it sounds like you just wanted to trust yourself. And I feel like we can
Yeah,
all relate to that with there's so much noise, especially with social media. There's good and bad to social media, but a lot of it is a lot of information. So I
yeah.
think that can get in everyone's head.
And it's like asking yourself the questions because you were silent, where we talked about this on a recent podcast, but about asking yourself for your own opinion first in order to like continue to like build the confidence within yourself and trust yourself. And you use the word violate your own like needs, wants, hopes, and desires. And as reforming people pleaser, I'm talking about this on every episode now because it really affected me. But like there is something that we feel so deeply when we go against what our integrity or our authenticity is. And you feel it, but in your day-to-day life, you can distract or numb, or I like use you guys to self-soothe. But like in that experience, I'm sure it's a much longer conversation you're having with
Mhm.
yourself. Like, ooh,
Yeah,
girl, why did you do that? Let's not do that next year.
yeah. And also be okay when I do betray myself and not be so mean to myself. When it's
Mhm.
like because I'm a group thinker. I want that external validation on a decision that I'm making, because when a decision feels enormous, like I don't this feels like it's not a me thing that I should decide on my own. I need others to pick it for me. But you're right. Both of y'all are right. It's like you have to ask yourself first, what's authentic to you? Obviously, it's good to have an informed decision if it is an enormous decision, but um just trusting your instinct, trusting your gut.
Did you feel like coming out of the silent retreat, you did gain some self-trust?
Yeah, I think I did.
Confident.
I I will say I think I gained an insight on how I talk to myself. Because I'm not a regular meditator. I would say like the most times I'm meditating, it's when I'm doing yoga or stretching, because you're kind of like focused, you're being intentional with your body. But even then, you're not really sitting down and having a conversation with yourself. Um, so to do that over the course of 3 days, you're like, it's you, like Megan E. Megan. And I don't think I'd ever talked I think it had been a long time since I had talked to myself for that long. So it was almost a moment of like, "Hey Megan, nice to meet you. Let's think about who you are and what that means and who you want to be."
Was that really reassuring to come out of that experience being reminded that you really enjoy your own company, even if it was challenging?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
Yeah, I hope everyone would come out of that situation and be like, "I love myself," you know? And I'm sure there are times when people don't, and that's really hard. And I I think that maybe if they are in a state of mind, like I would recommend to them to do a more disciplined approach than we did, probably for a safer experience. But yeah, I would say that if you can go into something and talk to yourself for 3 days and come out, be like, I like me. Me is pretty good. That's that's a big win to start your year on
I
that
think so
note.
too. And even I like me, but I also want to work on this because this part
Mhm.
feels dark to me and I'm not aligned with this part anymore. And that's what I want to come out and I want to work on. Oh, you're making me want to do
Yeah.
one.
I was thinking the same thing, Kaylee. Also, I was just wondering, like, as we have a safe space here, if you were going to go into a silent retreat this weekend, like, what would be your intention, Kaylee? Like, is there something that you would want to
I
tackle?
think, and I wouldn't have said this in the beginning of the podcast, but with Megan talking, it would be just to sit with myself and give myself my own company. And, yeah, do I like me? Am I cool just sitting in silence? How are my thoughts? Because this is my day to day. And it's really hard for everyone to slow down and check in with yourself, especially if you aren't a regular meditator or you don't have 10 minutes of silence every day. You have so much going on. I think this would probably be great for everyone to just force themselves to be with themselves. I think yeah, it sounds incredible, truly. It sounds really powerful, really powerful.
Yeah.
And maybe like a good gateway drug to get people into meditating.
Mhm.
If you can realize that you can spend some time alone with yourself in silence and it's like, oh, I can actually add this micro effect into my daily routine. It's to me, it's just like cold plunging. It's just like all of the things we talk about with wellness. Like a moment of silence can give you, it has a compounding effect.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Another
I find that so
I'm
much.
so sorry. Another deep thought I had was maybe it would, with what you said, Grace, like introducing meditation, maybe subconsciously a lot of us are scared to meditate because a lot of us are scared to sit with ourselves. Because what happens if you don't
100%.
like yourself? You spiral. Yeah. Ooh.
Yeah.
So
That's really my hardest, because instinctually when I sit down to meditate, I am physically looking for distraction for my
mm,
brain.
mhm.
And that's why I don't like
Yeah.
it.
I
It's
wonder if
so
it's
hard.
because do you feel like you would call yourself a self-critical person?
Mhm,
Right.
totally. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so it's hard to like then actively tell your brain to like not only be still, but then to not fixate on the criticisms.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's why I like when I meditate, I think a really good strategies are body scans where you can get out of your head and think about getting into your body. That's why I like yoga so much. You're getting out of your head and into your body. So a silent retreat, you are removing the distractions from your life and also getting into your head and body and
Yeah.
potentially spirit if that's your route, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, yes. Like such a soul connection, such a reminder to like be in love with yourself and to forgive yourself. I was thinking if I were to go into a silent retreat, something that really popped up while we were talking was the fact that I think I need to work on forgiving myself for not meeting the expectations, the unrealistic expectations that I've set for myself
Yeah.
and why I'm not there. I think when it comes to it's just like my body being, I'm gorgeous and beautiful, but like I am very self-critical on my body. I think, being where I want to be in my career and especially with Wes's birthday, like those milestone moments, it's just interesting. I can see how that would be so beneficial on forgiving yourself for those. Like, this is where I thought I would be. This is where I am. And like, let's meet in the middle to give myself like grace and understanding. Or maybe I actually like this path better. Like, I'm proud of myself for going against what I thought I wanted. Those are deep questions.
It's like slowing down
I'm over
And
it.
they're
time.
not to be. Yeah. Yeah, the days were long. The
Like,
days
this is what we do every
felt
day.
long.
This is our everyday hours.
Did
So
you bring any crafts? Like, were you knitting? What are you doing with
I,
your hands?
I brought a puzzle thinking like this is kind of meditative. We never opened it. Um, I,
She said, not silent enough.
yeah, Wes and I both really like the author Richard Powers, and he had a new book out. So, his books are always like very nature leaning. So it felt very on theme to be reading something that was also challenging and nature focused, while also doing something challenging and within nature. Yeah, it, I it's hard because it's not something I would want to do like on an annual basis. I know people really like who really like doing them could do the 10 days. And this is me talking about coming out on the other side. Maybe another 4-day. It was hard.
What
It's
if, okay, what if it was, what if you were going to a luxury wellness spa of silence where you weren't talking with someone's bringing you green juice on the hour every
right.
hour? There's a
For
there's a
sure.
sauna that you're sitting in and sweating in. Like, I feel like I could do that for 10 days in silence if I was
Absolutely.
being pampered.
The ones that felt very rooted in the meaning of a silent retreat were not like that.
Fuck.
Yeah.
You won't be having that.
They were they
Yeah.
were getting in touch with yourself without the distractions of material things
Yeah.
and luxuries.
Man. Well, that's really interesting. Thank you for continuing to let Kaylee and I drill you with questions, but also like have a deeper philosophical conversation within this. I think this is beautiful. I'd love for you to kind of wrap us up with any advice you'd give to someone who is interested in making going through maybe their own self-guided retreat and also having a more meaningful connection with themselves.
Yeah, and I would also add like how to have a more meaningful connection with your partner. This was still like a couples trip. Um and I wanted it to feel like we were doing something together even though we were doing something individually. Um so I would ask people to what I did is I thought through first what I wanted to get out of it and how can I add the discipline necessary where so if we made a mistake, we felt like we could continue or get back on track and we wouldn't wake up tomorrow and start talking and feel like, "Oh, we didn't really do it. I wanted to do it." You know? So set the ground rules first and foremost that work for both of you. And then also be so incredibly feather light gentle with yourself. Doing something really hard, doing something that feels counter to your nature. Be kind to yourself. And have fun, you know? Do something sexy.
We need that on a
Keep it sexy,
t-shirt.
people. Thank you so much, Megan, for joining us and for continuing to explore what silence means to the body. I feel like even having a 10-day effect or feeling the after effects of your 4-day silence experience 10 days later is a huge win and accomplishment. And I know Kaylee and I are itching to try it now. Although I know we're gonna hang up from this. I'm gonna call you guys and want to just chat.
Maybe I'll go one. I
So
think I would start off like one day at a hotel by myself
Yeah.
and journal and read. Away
I
from my
like
kids
that.
and my husband.
Nice.
What? It's a silent
No, it's good
retreat.
for my
I
health.
have to do it.
Yeah.
It's good for
Yeah.
my health. Sorry,
Once a month.
B.
Thanks.
Thank you guys for tuning in. We had a blast. We hope you enjoyed it too. And we will see you next
What's
week.
our intention? We'll have to cut that. Like when you leave us with intentions.
Okay, well, I pulled a card, but
Did we read the card or no?
Yeah, I did, but you were in the middle of
Oh,
working
yeah,
on
I
your
don't remember
tape.
the card.
And honestly, okay, so our intention, what's interesting is right before we started, I shuffled a affirmation deck that I have, and I pulled a card and I read it and I was like, no, I don't like it. And I put it back and I shuffled again and I pulled the same card. So it clearly is the message for us. And it is, we are wishing the power of love and miracles onto anyone who needs them right now. So if you're listening to this and you are maybe in a headspace where you are not feeling happy or confident or full of self-love, I hope this gave you encouragement to continue to explore the relationship with yourself, because it is the most meaningful relationship that we have.
That was amazing.
That's what I got.
I love that so much.
That's so beautiful.
Thank you, Megan. Thank you guys so much for listening. Let us know if you decide to do your own silent retreat and give us all the tips and tricks on yours. And we will see you next week. Bye.
Bye.